Welcome to Beyond the School Gate. For those of you who are new around here, my name is Ruth, and this podcast aims to share the varied experiences of women in leadership, to talk about what we do beyond the school gate, the good, the bad, and the funny.
Hi guys, welcome back to the podcast. Today, I want to talk to you a little bit about the concept of freedom. And what does freedom mean to you, and how can you achieve more of it? When I talk to my friends and family about freedom, the words accessibility, explore the world, able to do anything, no restrictions, no mental worries, financial freedom, doing what you want. Those are all of the words that came to mind as I embarked on these conversations with friends and family. And then I had a thought. I think we're freer than we think we are. I really do. There's no science behind this. It's just the world according to me. Do you know what I mean? So take it with a pinch of salt. However, I reckon we are freer than we think we are. I reckon there are day-to-day actions, day-to-day steps that we can take that get us towards a little bit more freedom. So, for example, one of the things that a friend said that they wanted to do more of was explore the world. They're working a 9 to 5, and freedom for them would be to be able to pick up and go and explore the world. So that's like polar extremes, right? Ends of the spectrum is on your left, you've got 9 to 5, you're grafting. And then on the other side is you're free, you're living your van life or whatever it is, you're exploring the world. But I think we're closer to that freedom than we think. So why don't you pack up your car every weekend on a Friday morning, and then after work, go down the south coast, go down the coast, go to the snowy mountains, just get out and about. Go on a Friday, and then drive back on a Monday, early Monday, and go straight to work. There you go. You're exploring more of the world. It doesn't have to be trips to Bali, Dubai, all this, that, and the other. It can be driving 3 hours in a different direction from your house and exploring the world. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like there are small steps that we can take towards being a little bit more free than maybe we do. And Ahmed and I talk about this all the time, packing up the car on a Friday, coming back on a Monday, drop the boy straight to school. There's no reason why we can't do that. Why can't we do it? All these things that society is telling us that we have to have or that we have to be. I think freedom is a lot closer than we think it is. Mental freedom, what's tying us down? What's bogging us down, and why? This morning, Ahmed's got up, he's got an appointment, so he got up early, and I was just laying in bed thinking, I haven't put out a podcast in a while. Well, why? You said that you really want to do it. You said that you really want to be consistent. Well, what's stopping you? There was actually nothing stopping me. I've actually got my book of, it's called Lady Boss, that has loads of ideas about podcasts that I can do, and there's been a bit of back and forth getting a couple of guests and some of the stuff. One of the reasons why I hadn't put one out recently is because I had a couple of guests lined up, and then we couldn't make our diaries work, and it became a whole lot of hoopla. I am getting them on the podcast at a later date, but all of that back and forth then meant that in my head I can't put out an episode for September, I can't put out an episode for October, because those were my two guests. Well, why not? I've got this my Boss Lady book with loads of ideas, loads of things to talk about. I think that, well, why not just bang a podcast out and see? This one particularly is talking about freedom, and I think I felt like I couldn't do something because I couldn't line up diaries with two guests that I had lined up. But actually, if I'm serious about the podcast and I want to do this, then I've got loads of ideas that I can pull out of my Boss Lady book and actually just start recording. And why not? I said I wanted to do a podcast, and I'm now doing a podcast by getting my butt up, getting myself into action, getting myself into gear, and actually talking about what freedom looks like and what it can look like. So I think there's so many shackles that we put on ourselves because we think, it has to be perfect. It has to be over-engineered. It has to be a video podcast. Sometimes it doesn't have to be that. Do you know what I mean? Freedom is about, I think, taking steps, getting you towards where you want to be. For me, the long-term goal, I would piss my pants if I could do podcasting full-time. That became my full-time job in 5-10 years' time. So the little steps that I'm taking today, getting up, brushing myself off when two guests have fallen through, and saying, do you know what? You want to get towards what freedom looks like for you. What freedom looks like for you is being able to spend more time doing your podcast. So get up and take action and go and do it. One of the other things I kept thinking about is, what are you scared of? I was reading a book whilst we were away in Merimbula, and a lot of what I was reading was saying that a lot of the time we want these things, but we're actually scared of it. And I think it's true, because I just think, I can only take the podcast as an example. Imagine if the podcast blew up. Imagine if like it became a household name and everybody was listening to it. Like, that's scary. Whilst it is what I want to do and I would love, and I'd be so grateful for that to happen, it's also scary because I don't know anybody that has a successful and a well-known podcast, like personally. I've met a few people who also have small podcasts like me, which is awesome, but I've never met anybody that's their job, or they have, like, they work part-time and then they do the podcast. Like, I haven't seen that in action. I know people who do a 9 to 5 like me. I know people who work in a charity space like me. I know people who do things that are similar to mine. So part of, I think, me allowing myself to fall behind on a couple of podcasts is because it is scary. And I have done a previous episode before this one on being brave. And I think that sometimes we do just have to put on our big girl pants and just be brave, because being brave is going to get us closer towards the freedom that we're seeking. One of the other things I was thinking about whilst I was away, this holiday has given me so much time to think, and I was thinking about how do we remove some of the barriers? So what are the things that are taking up our time that doesn't allow us to take steps towards freedom, and how do we remove those barriers? Does that make sense? So for me, I'm out of control when it comes to cleaning. So I got to clean. I got to tidy up, got to hoover, got to make the beds, got to change the beds. Oh, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, let's change the beds. Let's busy. That it means that you then don't have time for the thing that gives you freedom. So the podcast now doesn't give me financial freedom. The podcast now doesn't give me other types of freedom. But what it does, it gives me a creative outlet. It gives me a space to just be me and to just chatter away, to just waffle on in the hope that people listening enjoy the podcasts. So why not do that? Like I have this morning, I've got up and I've banged a couple out already, which is amazing. The motivation is there. The motivation is back. Instead of getting up and being like, okay, let me wipe down the sides again. The sides aren't dirty. I don't know what it is. I've got this thing about having a clean house. I don't know. I think it leans back to like when I was a teenage parent. I feel like I was being judged and I was expected to like have a dirty house because I was a teenage mom in a council estate. So I think people expected me to like have a dirty house, have like a rundown furniture, have all these things. No one ever said that to me. That's all stuff that I've probably put on myself. But I think it comes from that I'm so house proud now. I'm like, I never wanted anyone to ever come into my house then or now and be like, oh God, her house smells, or oh God, did you see the crumbs on the side? Like I don't know, I've got this thing about being house proud, but then no one's going to do that because I don't invite a lot of people to my house, and the people that I do invite to my house are friends and family. So for me, all of that to say, tidying up is a way of me being busy and actually not focusing on something that's going to get me to the freedom that I want, be it financial freedom, be it a space where I can just be creative, whatever type of freedom I'm looking for through the podcast. Prioritizing cleaning or something else isn't going to help me get there. So one of the things I do want to leave you guys with today is, how do we remove some of these barriers, at least to test the theory? I'd love you guys to test my theory and to DM me on Instagram and let me know if there's any truth behind this theory of we are a lot closer to freedom than we think we are. We just need to take those small steps, those small needlepoint movements to get there. And also have a think about, if you are, maybe you're not, but why are a lot of people so happy to just float through life? We have these goals, we have these dreams, but we float through life. I was talking to my brother-in-law about it again whilst we were away. We had a bit of a chat when I was on my walk, and we were just talking about the concept of floating through life and why are so many people content with floating through life and it not serving them. If it serves you to float through life, you do you, boo. Do you know what I mean? But if it doesn't and it's actually hindering you getting to where you want to be, why are we so content with floating through life? As always, thank you so much for listening, and I will see you on the next one.